When I first moved into Maplewood Estates, I thought it was the picture of suburban perfection, manicured lawns, sparkling sidewalks, and an overly enthusiastic HOA president named Karen who treated the neighborhood like her personal fiefdom. She had a clipboard in one hand and a phone camera in the other, documenting every violation she could find. If someone's trash bin was an inch off the curb, Karen would post about it on the community Facebook group. But her hypocrisy was legendary. The same woman who wrote up others for parking too close to the mailbox constantly parked her shiny white Lexus SUV in the clearly marked disabled spot right by the community pool, and she didn't have a placard. At first, I thought maybe she had forgotten it one day, but I quickly realized it was her regular spot. She justified it by saying, "I'm only running into the clubhouse for a minute, though those minutes turned into hours." Residents grumbled, but nobody dared confront her, not until one Saturday morning when my father, a retired veteran with limited mobility, came to visit. He had a legitimate disabled placard and needed the space, but Karen's Lexus sat there, spotless and smug, as if mocking the blue painted lines beneath it. I politely knocked on the clubhouse door and told her, "Excuse me, ma'am, that's a disabled space. My dad needs it." Karen barely glanced up from her clipboard and said, "You'll have to wait. I'm doing HOA business." That was the moment something inside me snapped. The arrogance, the entitlement, the sheer disregard for anyone but herself. It wasn't just about parking anymore. It was about principle. I decided then and there that Karen's reign of hypocrisy was going to end. I didn't know how yet, but fate had a funny way of bringing justice, and it would start with a police officer, a smartphone camera, and a viral moment that would change the entire HOA forever. The next week, I quietly started documenting everything. Every time Karen parked in that disabled spot, I took a photo with a timestamp. Every time she walked into the clubhouse or strutted into the pool area with her coffee and clipboard, I logged it. My plan wasn't revenge. Not yet, it was accountability. I even brought it up at the next HOA meeting, presenting my polite concern as diplomatically as possible. "We should lead by example," I said. "Disabled spaces exist for a reason." Karen's response? A sarcastic laugh and a wave of her perfectly manicured hand. "Oh, don't be so dramatic," she said. "That spot's barely ever used. Besides, I have bad knees." That line drew an eye roll from half the room. People whispered, but no one wanted to go against her. Karen had power, the kind built on intimidation, manipulation, and gossip. But I wasn't about to let my father or anyone else with a disability be disrespected because of her self-importance. The breaking point came 2 days later when my dad came by again, and once more the Lexus was parked there. He had to park 3 blocks away and shuffle slowly, leaning on his cane in the summer heat. I saw red. So, I made a call to the local police department's non-emergency line. I explained that someone was repeatedly parking in a disabled spot without a placard. The dispatcher thanked me and sent an officer to investigate. I didn't expect much, maybe a warning, maybe a ticket, but what happened next became the talk of the entire county. When the officer arrived, I was standing nearby, pretending to check my mailbox. Karen came out of the clubhouse mid-conversation, smiling at the officer like she was untouchable. "Officer, this is private property," she said sweetly. "I'm the HOA president." The officer glanced at her, then at the empty windshield of her Lexus. "Do you have a disabled placard, ma'am?" he asked. "Oh, I don't need one," Karen said, waving dismissively. "I'm on official business." The officer's face remained perfectly neutral as he replied, "Ma'am, the law doesn't make exceptions for HOA business." I could barely contain my grin. When Karen tried to lecture him about her authority, the officer calmly began writing a ticket, and not a small one. The moment the officer started writing, the neighborhood seemed to collectively hold its breath. Karen's smug expression vanished as quickly as her false confidence. "You can't ticket me here," she snapped. "This is HOA property." The officer looked up from his pad and said, "Ma'am, the Americans with Disabilities Act applies everywhere, even private communities. The sign is registered, the markings are official, and your vehicle is in violation." Then came the part that no one expected, As Karen ranted and flailed her arms, the officer calmly turned on his body camera and gestured toward a young bystander recording the scene on her phone. That video, as fate would have it, would be uploaded to social media within the hour. Karen HOA president argues with cop over parking in disabled spot, read the caption, and within days it had millions of views. People couldn't get enough of her meltdown. The way she threatened to call the mayor, the way she tried to tell the officer he'd never work in this town again, and the moment he replied, "Ma'am, you're welcome to call whoever you want, but this citation stands." When he finally slapped the ticket on her windshield, the crowd that had gathered around actually applauded. It was one of those moments you couldn't script. Karen turned beet red and stormed off, shouting about harassment and defamation, but the damage was done. Within hours, screenshots of the video had made it to our HOA Facebook group, and even her most loyal defenders were suddenly silent. By evening, a local news station picked it up, running the story under the headline, "HOA president ticketed for illegal parking, officer praised for professionalism." The comment sections exploded with support for the officer and ridicule for Karen. She tried to defend herself online, claiming she had temporary authorization, but the police report, now public, clearly stated otherwise. Her credibility crumbled overnight. I didn't have to lift a finger beyond that one phone call. Karma had done all the heavy lifting for me. But the best part was yet to come, because the HOA board finally realized they couldn't ignore the embarrassment any longer. The next HOA meeting was standing room only. Even residents who hadn't attended in years showed up, eager to see what would happen. Karen sat at the head of the table, wearing oversized sunglasses, as if that would somehow disguise her from the collective judgment in the room. The tension was thick enough to cut with a knife. When the meeting opened, one of the board members cleared his throat and said, "Given recent events, we believe a discussion of leadership accountability is in order." Karen's lips tightened. "If this is about that ridiculous video, it's being handled by my attorney," she said, trying to maintain her composure. But the crowd wasn't having it. One elderly woman raised her hand and said softly, "My husband's in a wheelchair. That space is for people like him, not for people running errands." The room erupted in agreement. Voices rose, demanding Karen's resignation, demanding change. The motion to remove her as HOA president passed in minutes, unanimously. She tried to protest, shouting about slander and illegal votes, but the gavel came down and sealed her fate. Within a week, the board appointed a new president, a kind, reasonable man named Paul, who immediately announced the creation of a community committee for accessibility and fairness. The disabled spot was freshly repainted, the sign replaced with a sturdier metal one, and new rules ensured no one, not even board members, could claim exceptions. The viral video had brought more than just embarrassment, it brought reform. The officer who issued the ticket even received a commendation for handling the situation so professionally. As for Karen, she moved out 3 months later, unable to handle the whispers and stares that followed her every time she pulled into the neighborhood. Ironically, the last time anyone saw her car, it was parked, you guessed it, properly in a regular space far from the clubhouse. Sometimes justice doesn't arrive in grand gestures. Sometimes it comes with a simple ticket and a viral video that reminds everyone that no one, not even the self-proclaimed queen of the HOA, is above the law. And as I watched my dad finally park in that spot without trouble, I realized something satisfying. Karma always finds its parking space.